Come.
It all began in a quiet railway town, where I had grown up surrounded by the hum of trains and the occasional whistle slicing through the night air. Near my house row of abandoned railway quarters stood like sleeping giants, their windows shattered, walls cracked, and overgrown grass creeping inside as if nature itself wanted them back. People whispered about the place, calling it cursed. Shadows moved inside when no one was there. Footsteps echoed along the empty halls, and a strange chill seemed to cling to anyone who dared approach after dark. I had always laughed off these stories as childish superstition until one night. Circumstances forced me to walk past the quarters, and I discovered that some legends are terrifyingly true. As I stepped onto the gravel path, the night seemed unnaturally quiet, except for the distant crickets and the faint, mournful whistle of a far-off train. My own footsteps crunched sharply in the stillness, but then a subtle, metallic sound began to follow me. Chhan, soft, rhythmic, like anklets, brushing over dry grass. I froze, heart hammering, telling myself it was nothing, but every step I took made the sound grow slightly louder. Shadows danced in the broken windows, and a faint whisper seemed to brush past my ear. I quickened my pace, but the sensation of being watched pressed down on me, heavier with each step. By the time I reached the second quarter, the air itself seemed alive, vibrating with a presence I could neither see nor ignore. A dim orange glow flickered inside a broken window, moving slowly from room to room. The building had been abandoned for decades, yet there was light and there was movement. The anklet sounds were closer now, accompanied by uneven, shallow breathing that made my chest tighten. The hair on my neck stood on end as I dared a quick glance back. Nothing. Only the darkness, but I could feel it, a gaze burning into my back. My mind screamed to run, but my legs felt rooted to the ground. Then, ahead, under a flickering lamppost, she appeared, a woman in a white saree, unmoving, hair cascading over her face. Her presence was oppressive, the anklet sounds now echoing from her feet. The wind, though calm, seemed to lift her hair, as if invisible hands toyed with it, revealing a hint of movement beneath, impossible and unnatural. My chest tightened further as the whispers began. Faint at first, come, and then multiplied, distorted, calling my name in a chorus of voices not belonging to her. Panic surged through me, and I bolted, but the air itself seemed to push against me, slowing my escape. The shadows of the quarters stretched unnaturally as I ran past, flickering like broken film. Every corner hid something that my mind refused to process. Fleeting silhouettes, glimpses of pale hands against cracked walls, and eyes that vanished when I tried to focus. Behind me, the metallic anklet, Chhan, kept pace, never faltering. I dared to glance back once, and my blood ran cold. Her face, when she lifted her head, was no face at all, an endless black void where hollow sockets and a gaping mouth seemed to consume all light. From that void came whispers, cries, and laughter all at once, calling my name, echoing in the night. I reached the edge of the quarters and sprinted into the open road, lungs burning, feet slipping on gravel, but the terror did not end there. At home, behind locked doors, the sound of those anklets continued to haunt me, soft, deliberate, moving outside my bedroom door. Some nights, the whispers returned, faintly, almost invitingly. Come. I would lay frozen, listening, praying they were only in my imagination. But every so often, I'd peek through the crack of the door, and there she would be, a shadow, unmoving, watching, waiting. Days turned into weeks, yet I could not shake the feeling that she followed me everywhere. Even in daylight, there were glimpses. A fleeting white shape in the corner of my eye, a whisper in the wind that sounded eerily like my own name. I avoided the path past the quarters completely, but the memory and the fear lingered like a permanent scar. Friends told me to forget it, to chalk it up to imagination, but I knew the truth. Some presences never leave. They only wait for the night to reclaim what is theirs. Even now, years later, when the world is quiet and the moon casts pale light over my town, I hear it. The soft, Rhythmic. Chhan. 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 Of anklets on gravel. And I remember her face, or rather the void where it should have been, and I know with a certainty that chills my soul that the woman at the abandoned railway quarter is still out there, patient and eternal, waiting for the next careless soul to wander too close.
The road is empty.
The road to the abandoned railway quarters has always been unnerving, even in daylight. The gravel path winds alongside tall, skeletal trees whose branches claw at the sky like blackened fingers, and beyond them stand the old houses' quarters once built for railway workers. Long ago abandoned when time and tragedy forced their walls to silence. The paint has peeled away in great, curling flakes. The doors hang crooked on rusted hinges, some barely attached, some lying in splinters in the weeds. Windows gape wide and broken, jagged teeth of glass still clinging to the frames, their emptiness swallowing the moonlight. By day, people say the place is simply haunted by its own ruin. But by night, it is a threshold. You told yourself you wouldn't be afraid. You told yourself that stories were just stories, that whispers carried no weight, that the dead do not walk among the living. And yet, as you stepped onto that path, the silence pressed in like a physical weight, choking the air from your lungs. Even the insects, loud only moments before, seemed to fade as though they too feared to disturb the quarters. The sound of your own footsteps on the gravel was louder than you expected, each crunch echoing, bouncing off the skeletal buildings. You kept your pace, even trying not to think about how alone you were. That was when it began. It was faint at first, so faint you thought you'd imagined Italiano, a metallic tinkle, distant, hesitant Chhan, like anklets, brushing lightly against stone. You froze. The sound stopped. You held your breath, listening hard, but all you heard was the pounding of your own heart. With a nervous laugh, you told yourself it was nothing, just your nerves playing tricks. You moved again, more cautiously this time. The sound returned. Chhan, Chhan, Chhan. Not quite matching your steps, not quite delayed, but present, undeniable. He stopped a second time, and again it ceased. The rational part of your mind scrambled for explanations. A stray dog with a chain around its neck. Perhaps the wind rattling some forgotten piece of metal in the debris. But the night was still. The air was dead. And deep in your chest, you already knew the truth. The sound was following you. You told yourself not to look back. To look would be to acknowledge it. To hide. For. But your eyes betrayed you. Slowly, unwillingly, you glanced over your shoulder. There was nothing, only the gravel path stretching empty behind you. The outline of the abandoned houses watching with hollow eyes. Yet the moment you turned forward again, the sound resumed, closer this time, clearer. Chhan, Chhan, Chhan. You tried to ignore it, focusing on the path ahead, but every step grew heavier. The air thickened, pressing against your ears, as though the atmosphere itself was straining, waiting. Shadows lengthened unnaturally along the ground, stretching from the broken windows, twisting into shapes that flickered at the edges of your vision. Once, you swore, you saw a pale shimmer inside one of the quarters, a fleeting movement, like someone standing just beyond the threshold, watching. You blinked hard, and it was gone. Your pace quickened, though you told yourself not to run. Running would make it real. Running would mean you believed. And yet, the faster you walked, the more insistent the anklet sounds became, matching your urgency, keeping perfect pace. You stopped again, heart hammering. Silence. The kind of silence that isn't absence of sound, but a presence all its own. The silence of something holding its breath. And then, softly, almost tenderly. You heard it. Ah? Whisper, not words at first, just the brush of air across your ear, close enough that you felt warmth on your skin. You spun around, but there was only emptiness. A trembling laugh escaped your throat, though it sounded strange, foreign, as though it belonged to someone else. You told yourself you were imagining things. You told yourself there was nothing there, but Denia was wearing thin, peeling away like the paint on those ruined walls. You mobed, on each step slower now. Deliberate, careful, your ears strained for every sound. Your eyes scanned every shifting shadow. The anklet followed, always a step behind, always too close. Chhan Chhan. Then faintly, the whisper returned. This time, it shaped itself into sound, into syllables, a single word, drawn out, stretched thin and cruel. Your name, spoken low, but clear. Your blood went cold. You don't remember ever telling anyone you'd be walking this path. You don't remember ever speaking your name aloud that night. And yet, here it was, spoken back to you, stolen and returned in a voice that did not belong. You froze in place, every instinct screaming to flee, but your legs refused. The air thickened further, pressing down on you, heavy and oppressive. You felt as though unseen eyes were on you from every direction, waiting to see what you would do next. You forced yourself forward, one foot, then another, but now the quarters themselves seemed alive, their hollow windows shifting as though heads turned to follow your passing. The faint orange glow of a lantern flickered inside one of the broken houses, sliding slowly across the room before vanishing into darkness. No one had lived there for decades. No one had lit a lamp in years. Yet you saw a tune unmistakable, undeniable, and deep in your chest, terror began to bloom. You told yourself you just needed to reach the end of the path, that once you left the shadow of the quarters, the sound would stop. But the path stretched endlessly now, longer than it had ever been. Each step dragged you deeper, not closer to escape, but further into the waiting dark. The anklet kept its pace. Chhan Chhan? The whisper returned, closer, almost playful now, curling into your ear like a lover's breath. Come. You stumbled, nearly falling, catching yourself on the rough bark of a tree. The tree was cold, unnaturally so, as if it had been standing in a graveyard, untouched by life for centuries. The sound of the anklets stopped again. The silence returned. For a moment, you thought it was over, that perhaps it had gone. But silence is never mercy. Silence is the inhale before the scream. And then, from the corner of your eye, you saw, not clearly, not fully, but enough, a figure, pale, standing just inside the shadow of a doorway. Her outline wavered, fragile as smoke, her head tilted as though studying you. You turned to face her, desperate to prove yourself wrong. But the doorway was empty. Still, the echo of her presence lingered, thick as frost on your skin. You told yourself to keep walking. You told yourself you could endure it. But with every step, with every heartbeat, the truth clawed deeper into your mind. You were no longer alone on that path. Something had noticed you. Something had followed, and though it had yet to show itself fully, it always would. Because once the dead decide to acknowledge the living, there is no turning back. You are driving down a narrow road through Cannock Chase, that stretch of dense woodland in Staffordshire, England, where the trees seem to thick, too close, too intent on keeping secrets. The locals will not walk alone here after dark, and you have been told why. Strange shapes between the trees, whispers carried on the wind, footsteps that stop when you turn, but nothing compares to what has become the legend of this place to children. Children who are not children at all. You roll the window down just slightly, and the air that creeps inside is damp, earthy, tinged with rot. The silence is heavy. Not even the insects dare to break it. The headlights cut a weak path ahead, and it is then that you see it know. Her a small girl standing at the edge of the road. She doesn't move, doesn't wave, doesn't run. She only stares. At first, there is nothing unnatural about her. Maybe lost, maybe waiting for a parent. She cannot be more than 10 years old. Her hair is dark, tangled by the wind. She wears something pale, like a dress, though the color is hard to see beneath the yellow glow of the headlights. But what grips your chest is her stillness. No shifting of weight, no nervous glances, not even the restless energy you'd expect from a child. Whose absolute unmoving presence, as though she has been waiting for you, only you. Against your better judgment, you slow the car. The tires crunch against gravel, echoing too loudly in the suffocating silence of the forest. The girl does not react. Your hands tighten on the wheel. Something inside urges you to keep driving, but curiosity claws at you, dragging you toward her. The engine hums low, a pulse in the background of your rising heartbeat. You stop the car just meters away. The headlights frame her figure in harsh white light. That is when you notice the dress is wrong. Too thin for the cold night. Too clean for a child standing alone on a forest road. You swallow, lean across the seat, and call out, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" Your voice cracks the silence like glass shattering. The girl tilts her head slightly, like she's processing the words not in the way a child would, but in some slower, alien rhythm. She steps forward, not a stumble, not a rush, just a deliberate pace, as though the ground itself bends to her intention. Her feet make no sound. The closer she comes, the stronger your unease grows. You can see her more clearly now. Her skin is pale to pale, like wax. And then, finally, you see her eyes, entirely black, not dark brown, not shadowed by the night, but black from lid to lid. Obsidian voids where human eyes should be. The stories were true. Your body reacts before your mind does. Your pulse spikes, your breath catches, and your muscles tense as if preparing to flee. Yet you cannot move. Her gaze pins you to the seat. Those eyes are not just looking at you, they are inside you, pulling at your thoughts. Your memory's very sense of self. A coldness spreads from the base of your skull down your spine, seeping into your chest like water filling a sinking ship. She opens her mouth as if to speak, but what emerges is not words. It is a sound low, resonant vibration, like wind rushing through a hollow cave. It rattles in your ears, sets your teeth on edge, and makes your vision swim. You slam your foot on the accelerator, but the car hesitates, stalling for a heartbeat that feels eternal. The girl is closer now, standing at your window. You cannot remember seeing her move. Her face is inches away, her black eyes wide, unblinking, swallowing the reflection of your trembling face. You squeeze your eyes shut, willing it to end, and for a moment, all is silent. When you open them again, the road ahead is empty. Say, is gone. Your breath comes in ragged gasps. The headlights carve only empty asphalt and silent trees. The urge to escape overpowers everything. You drive, faster and faster, the wheel trembling beneath your hands, the forest whipping past in a blur of shadows. And yet even as the distance grows, you know it is not over. In the rearview mirror, for the briefest second, you see her, sitting in the back seat, those endless black eyes fixed on yours. And then, nothing. By the time you burst out of the forest road into the lights of the nearby town, your body is shaking uncontrollably. You park beneath a street lamp, desperate for the warmth of something human, something real. But the unease lingers. The image of those eyes is burned into you, a stain that cannot be scrubbed out. Locals say the black-eyed children are omens, harbingers of disaster, that to meet their gaze is to invite misfortune into your life, to open a door that will never again close. And tonight, that door has been opened. Tell me when you are alone, when the room is dark and still, and you feel the weight of unseen eyes upon you. Will you dare to look behind you?
Not black eye, it's red